What do civilians do after war? That's the theme I'm going to cover today with Bad Batch Season 1, Episode 11, Devil's Deal. Overall, I thought this episode was okay. It stayed within the universe and was a good installment despite the small amount of screen time the Bad Batch got. But we meet a young Hera Syndulla as she gets introduced into life as a rebel. As with all the episodes so far, I'll rehash the question of Clone Force 99's overall mission. I'm Nate, and this is my YouTube channel. If you like the content in today's video, make sure to hit the like button or leave a comment to let me know your thoughts. Episode 11 was released on July 9th, 2021 on Disney+. In this episode, the Empire causes problems on Ryloth by establishing a new refinery and confiscating all weapons from the citizenry. As a result, Bad Batch is sent to deliver a shipment of weapons to the Resistance, but Rampart and Crosshair have other plans. Voice actors Vanessa Marshall and Robin Adkins Downs reprise their roles as Hera Syndulla and Cham Syndulla. The episode is directed by Stuart Lee, who's directed 5 episodes of Bad Batch so far, and the script is written by Tamara Becker Wilkinson, who's new to the series. The episode starts off on Ryloth in the city of Lesu, where the people have gathered to hear from their leaders and the new Imperial government. Ryloth is the homeworld of the Twi'lek species. It first appeared in the Star Wars universe in Clone Wars Season 1, Episode 19, Storm over Ryloth. However, the Twi'lek species first appeared in Return of the Jedi in 1983. One of the questions that has come up in the Star Wars fandom is why do some of the Twi'leks, in particular Hera in this episode, have what seems to be French accents? I think this is just a creative decision. Something to note though, Ryloth is in the Outer Rim and part of the Gaullist sector. In our own history on Earth, the Roman province of Gaul is known today as the country of France. Crosshair reports the presence of Gobi Glee and other freedom fighters at the gathering. Gobi Glee made his first appearance in the Clone Wars Season 1, Episode 21, Liberty on Ryloth. Above in the balcony, Rampart receives the information and begins to probe the Twi'lek officials in the room. One is Senator Orn Free Taa, a character who appeared in all 3 prequel movies and several episodes of Clone Wars. The other Twi'leks are Cham Syndulla and his wife Eleni. Cham first appeared in the Clone Wars Season 1, Episode 21, Liberty on Ryloth, with Gobi Glee. He also made 2 appearances in Star Wars Rebels. This is Eleni's first appearance as a character, though she was referred to in Star Wars Rebels through dialogue and pictures. Cham and Eleni's daughter is Hera Syndulla of Star Wars Rebels fame. Rampart divisively asks Senator Taa why the people seem troubled by the Empire's announcement of a new refinery on Ryloth that will bring jobs. Senator Taa states he supports the partnership, but he's clearly in it for his own benefit. Eleni skeptically states that she will support anything that promotes the people of Ryloth. Rampart then presses Cham, who merely states that after years of war, peace is a welcome change, and Senator Taa notes that peace brings prosperity, which we know he's thinking of money in his pocket. In the last episode, I discussed what soldiers do after war. The Bad Batch has been struggling with broken loyalties, changing alliances, and making friends with old enemies. In this episode, we cover the topic of what civilians do after war. Cham is faced with the other end of the issues just noted. Hunter and the gang watched as their former brethren turned their backs on allies. Cham is the ally who's now been betrayed. In this episode, we see what life is like when evil wins the war. Evil, in its quest to appear good, always demands loyalty as well as displays of loyalty. In the absence of these displays, imprisonment and even death are the consequences. George Lucas has made it clear that his original idea behind the Empire was Nazi Germany. In a sense, the Star Wars universe is an alternate universe where Germany won World War II. In this episode, we watch how different parts of the population react to the end of the war. Senator Taa represents the corrupt political class, whose scheming and selfishness provided nothing for the war effort. With the war over, they can now go back to work devising plans to reinvigorate their status and line their pockets. Gobi Glee represents the civilian soldier who found meaning in the war and cannot adjust to the change. Though his fears about the Empire are well placed, he is not going to survive the change from a physical war to one involving politics and social change. He can't let go. Cham Syndulla represents the well-rounded leader who can handle both and knows how to lead his people into this new era, but he must deal with the Gobi Glees and Senator Taas of the world. And even though Rampart and Crosshair are consistent in this episode from other episodes they've been in, their presence, in particular Rampart's, represent the class of citizen and soldier who are the opposite of Gobi Glee. The war wasn't his bag of tea. Maybe it was too violent for his tastes, or he wasn't interested. Either way, his self-righteousness now sees an opportunity to capitalize on the change. Even though violent physical wars are not his thing, the manner in which he proceeds with his toxic vision produces the same psychological damage and even deaths that a physical war does. He is the war protester hippie who goes into the corporate world after the war to make money at all costs. He is relentless in his pursuit. He is also the military officer who joins for the status and avoids the war until the coast is clear so he can get promoted. Back on the balcony, a clone commander we have never seen is present, Captain Hauser. He notices Cham's demeanor and asks if things are all right. Cham relents that he should be happy the war is over, and he hopes his people welcome the changes. Captain Hauser is a new character, and we get the feeling that he's been with Ryloth through the entirety of the Clone Wars as the commander of the troops stationed there. It's clear here that Hauser was created for this episode because Captain Rex or Commander Cody would have created continuity issues, but he's a nice addition to the universe. He represents the Bad Batch in this episode. His struggle with the changes and corruption are all too familiar to me. Despite the common narrative in Hollywood that war brings out the bad in all of us, inside the military, war presents an interesting situation. War requires, or better put, demands soldiers to become selfless. As a result, many soldiers like Rampart do not fit in. Soldiers who find a higher calling through their service tend to excel. Captain Hauser is one of these soldiers. He has scars on his face and his men clearly trust and respect him, but he's a dying breed now. He must adapt and become like Rampart in order to survive. From the balcony, Senator Ta makes the announcement about the new refinery and collaboration between the Empire and Ryloth. They are to stand down from their military posts and let the clone army protect them. The crowd then chants for Syndulla, who makes a stirring speech about how the clones fought and died alongside them. The crowd changes their tune, but Gobi Glee doesn't buy it, and he walks out. Rampart notes to Eleni that her daughter is not there, to which she responds that Hera has other interests. This interaction is kind of odd, but makes sense. In a totalitarian state, the family becomes subservient to the state. Although familial bonds are accepted, respect for the state is of utmost importance. So the fact that Hera is not there is an indicator to Rampart that Cham and Eleni are not on board with this new empire. On a perch overlooking the refinery, Hera and Chopper spy on the compound. Nothing is out of the ordinary, and despite Chopper's prodding, Hera says their job is to gather intel for Gobi. While daydreaming about flying, a fire team of clone troopers finds them. In the palace compound, freedom fighters turn in their weapons while Gobi and Eleni discuss the ramifications of giving in to the Imperial demands. Gobi notes that he reached out to his contacts to acquire more weapons. Captain Hauser arrives with the fire team that found Hera and Chopper. He tells Cham that things are tense, but he won't report the incident as long as it doesn't happen again. Cham finds out that Gobi sent Hera to spy on the refinery. Cham is upset that Gobi put Hera in danger. Gobi feels the Imperials are up to something. In Senator Ta's office, Rampart and Crosshair talk with him about each doing their parts. It's intimated that there is a plan they are executing to get Cham and Gobi to make a move that will incriminate themselves. With this episode, we get to see Crosshair interacting more with his new Imperial teammates. Although we don't get any clues as to whether he is still under the spell of his inhibitor chip or not, we see that he is rather cold-blooded, and we get that he enjoys the work that he is being employed to do. Throughout the season, I've been getting the sense that Crosshair doesn't care much about the strategic goals of his overlords. He just likes what he does, which is what he was made for. At the palace, Cham and Hera have a conversation about Ryloth. Hera wants to be in the stars flying. Cham says that Ryloth is safe, there's no reason to leave, to which Hera notes that it doesn't seem like there is peace. Cham responds that his hope is that Hera will never have to live a life like this. Unfortunately, we already know that this will not come to fruition, but maybe it will be the case for the time being. For character development, this episode belongs to Hera. She is the one making all the story decisions. Cham is providing her fatherly advice and limitations. Hera's uncle, Gobi, is providing the vehicle that moves the plot forward, but Hera is the one making decisions to get involved and causing everyone to make decisions as a result. In this episode, we get to see a young Hera dream about a future in which she is a pilot that lives on a starship, as well as get formed through a crucible of fire. She goes from an innocent child with fantasies of future adventures to a teenager with her eyes open to the dangers of the world in front of her. She is now on a trajectory to one day become Captain Hera Syndulla. In the refinery, Rampart gives a tour to Cham and Eleni. Eleni notes that the refinery seems to be more of a military compound than anything else. Rampart is called away by Crosshair's soldiers. Cham and Eleni have a conversation about the Empire's intentions. Cham wants to hear them out. Eleni sees through their facade. In a cave, Hera tells Gobi she can't join him on a mission. He trolls her, though, by telling her she won't be able to pilot the ship as a result. Crosshair is there and he places a tracking device on the vessel. On the ship, Gobi lets Hera fly, but he won't let her land or take off. On a moon nearby, they meet with the Bad Batch, who have brought weapons for them. Hera is enamored with the Havoc Marauder and asks Omega for a tour. Inside, Hera asks Omega if she flies the ship, to which she responds that Tech won't let her until she can recite all the controls from memory. Hera tells her that specs are only part of flying. The rest is a feeling. Omega assumes Hera is a pilot, to which Hera responds that she is not. Omega lowers her guard with Hera and takes her to see her room. Hera is mesmerized by the whole experience and notes that living on a starship is her dream. And for those of us familiar with Hera in Star Wars Rebels, we know she eventually gets her own ship and lives on it, but it's not as easygoing and fantastical as she thinks it will be. In this scene, Omega gets to interact with another female, but unlike previous episodes where all those females were grown women displaying both good and bad forms of femininity, here Omega meets a girl who has not seen past the innocence of her youth yet. Omega has seen the dangers of the galaxy firsthand, though. Hera hasn't experienced anything at this point. It's an opportunity for the audience to see how far Omega has come, but more importantly, we get to see Hera being confronted with the reality of the future life she is going to lead. However, she doesn't see it the way Omega sees it because Hera still believes in a fantasy. This sets the tone going into the final act of the episode, and probably where Hera will go emotionally in the next episode. Back on Ryloth, Crosshair tracks Gobi's ship and shoots it down. His troops capture Gobi, Hera, and Gobi's lieutenant. Rampart and Senator Ta show up. Though Rampart notes that Hera's presence is distressing, it's clear they have the ammunition needed to force Cham to make a move. Senator Ta wants to arrest Hera. Captain Hauser notes that she's only a child, and it's clear he doesn't like what's going on. Some of Gobi's fighters spy on the event and report to Cham what happened. Back in the palace, Chopper shows up and tells Cham and Eleni that Gobi, his lieutenant, and Hera have been officially convicted of treason, to which Eleni notes that there was no trial. Cham, Eleni, and Chopper head out to ambush the Imperial convoy before it gets back to the city. In this sequence, we get two Easter eggs. The first is the blurgs that Cham's fighters ride. These two-legged reptilian animals were introduced in the Clone Wars, and we saw them again in Season 1, Episode 1 of The Mandalorian. The second thing we see is the A6 Juggernaut troop carrier, otherwise known as the Clone Turbo Tank. This vehicle was first introduced in 2005's Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, during the Battle of Kashyyyk, and was subsequently seen a few times in the Clone Wars. However, the original idea of the vehicle came about from an unused conceptual design for the Battle of Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back. Most recently, the vehicle made an appearance as a labor force carrier in Rogue One. Inside the Juggernaut, Senator Ta tells Hauser to attack Cham, but Hauser is hesitant. Cham and his freedom fighters slowly take down the convoy security. Rampart concedes and surrenders to Cham and Eleni, though his willingness to do so appears devious. Chopper arrives in a land speeder, which Hera boards. Cham confronts Senator Ta about his corruption and greed at the expense of the Rylothian people. Then he points his gun at Senator Ta, but Eleni stops him. Unfortunately for Cham, this was Rampart's plan all along, to coax Cham into making a move against the Empire. Rampart nods to Crosshair, who is ready to snipe from an elevated position, and Crosshair aims and hits Senator Ta. Then clone reinforcements show up. Eleni yells to Chopper to get Hera out of there, to which he does. Rampart then arrests Cham, Eleni, and Gobi for the attempted assassination of Senator Ta. Rampart tells Hauser to search for Hera. And now to the questions of Bad Batch's overall mission and purpose. The first question, will Clone Force 99 fix their own inhibitor chips? This question was answered in Episode 7, Battle Scars. The second question, will Clone Force 99 get back Crosshair and fix his inhibitor chip? This was not covered in this episode. The third question, will Clone Force 99 save their brothers? Captain Hauser not only represents the Bad Batch in this episode, but he represents the struggle within the clone army right now. He wrestles with the orders he's been given and his loyalty to the friends he made with the Twi'leks during the war. He feels the need to answer the question, what am I fighting for? As of right now, he has no other clones to provide an alternative take on how to respond, and he has yet to meet the Bad Batch, who I have no doubt will influence him as brothers more than Rampart can as a toxic commander. And question 4, will Clone Force 99 reconcile the clones with the Jedi? This issue was not addressed in this episode. I didn't like this episode that much. I wanted to stick with the Bad Batch. Their adventures and growth is intriguing to me. However, I do see the value in what Dave Filoni did here. Hera is a beloved character. I think he has plans for her in some of the live action series coming up, much like the introduction of Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones, The Clone Wars, and The Mandalorian. I think Dave Filoni wanted to show some more touch points with Hera throughout her life. She may be a character we want to see again, but there has been no curiosity about how she became captain of the Ghost. I think what Dave is doing here is creating those questions so he can use the character again in bigger roles. With a growing female fan base, it's good business to incorporate quality female characters. We want to know more about Ahsoka, and now I think we can start asking about Hera more. And certainly Sabine Wren is up there with them. Thanks for watching, and if you like the content, please hit the like button, leave a comment, share, or subscribe.